Our right to vote, a phrase we always seem to hear at election time. We have been voting in this country for some 400 years, but not all of us. On April 26, 1607, our first voyagers from England settled in Jamestown, Virginia, and 105 colonists voted for 7 men to lead their council. Since that first election, we as Americans have been experimenting with a representative government, and today we are still tinkering with those mechanics.
It's one of the most important things, I think, responsibilities we have as citizens, not only in Michigan but in America. It's your voice. It's your opportunity to have input, and even if the only thing you do is go vote, that's very important.
To me, I have always, from a very young age, been brought up to believe that we should have the right to vote, that it's a civic responsibility, and in just about every case I've exercised that civic responsibility since I had that great right granted upon us. We've had many people that have sacrificed their lives so that we can have this right to vote, and I take that very seriously.
Fast forward 313 years, after much fight and strife, women finally got the opportunity for their voices to be heard. On August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified, giving women the right to vote. A right that began for American men in the early 1800s.
The fact that women earned the right to vote, that's huge, because that means women were able to take the next step, which is to acknowledge our rightful role as also having opportunities to be leaders. Before then, women had to lead from behind. Today, they can choose to lead from behind or they can lead from the front.
I think women have been very responsible in voting, and I think it's very important that we remember that these types of things didn't come easily or cheaply. People suffered to get us to this point.
I think things have progressed amazingly, but we still have a long way to go. Right now in the Michigan Senate, we only have 4 women serving, 3 Republicans, 1 Democrat. We need to increase those numbers. We make up half the population. But at the end of the day, I believe that people are judged upon their content and their character. And so while we've made advances, there's certainly a long ways to go.
Michigan was at the forefront of the women's suffrage movement. Resident Anna Howard Shaw succeeded Susan B. Anthony as president of the National American Women's Suffrage Association in 1904. And just days after it was approved by Congress, Michigan was one of the first states to ratify the 19th Amendment.
It makes me very proud of the state of Michigan, and also to have a Michigan prominent resident, Anna Shaw, be very active in terms of this movement. It doesn't surprise me. I think Michiganders are very great people and speak their minds, and really, I think, from a sense of moral responsibility, and that is, that women should have the equal right to vote.
And so it doesn't surprise me at all that Michigan was leading the way. Michigan has always been a little bit different. People often say we're not a red state, we're not a blue state. I think we've always looked at the issue, the individual. And so it's not a surprise to me at all that Michigan was really at the forefront in promoting this idea that women are the equal to men.
Women like Susan B. Anthony, Carrie Chapman, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton led the fight for women.
People stood up for their principles. They stood up for their beliefs. It wasn't popular at the time, and but they were strong women. I'm sure they took a great deal of flack, and it impacted not only them but their families and the folks around them, and yet they stood firm.
Without them being active and to speaking out on the convictions that they believed, we wouldn't be as far as we are now. So those ladies certainly staked their reputations, and I'm sure had a lot of haters at the same time.
And so you look at these women and they all blazed trails. Some of them may have known it, but others just saw a need and they went out and they fought the fight. And so as a woman who's in leadership in the Senate, I look at who knows if I am blazing a trail for somebody. I don't know who's watching me. Maybe I'll have an impact. I don't see myself as a trailblazer by any means, because it's so many women who fought to get their way here, but I still see that there's a lot more movement to make. I was the first state representative from Portage.
Years before women received the right to vote, Martha Maria Hughes Cannon was elected to the state senate in Utah on November 3, 1896. She served 2 terms. 2 years after the 19th Amendment was ratified in the state of Georgia, Rebecca Latimer Felton took the oath and became the first woman to serve in the United States Senate. She took the oath of office on November 21, 1922, at the age of 87.
I think it was interesting that Wyoming, back in 1869, allowed women the right to vote back then, before they were even a state. And that tells me that it was a pretty rugged country back then. The West was still pretty wild, and I would guess that women were shoulder to shoulder with men in developing that western frontier, and I think they recognized that early on and allowed them the right to vote.
From the 1800s to today, women have made their mark in government and voting rights for women.
And what it meant is we now had an official voice for half of our population who never had that voice. And I think that there is obviously more that we can do to continue to work together. But I think that it's very powerful as we look at this anniversary to just recognize and cherish the leaders who were in this fight, both men and women. And think about the fact that our sons and daughters both will have the similar opportunities and have the same opportunity for success.
After the 19th Amendment was ratified, we still can do a lot. We can, as women, we can get out and mentor. We can be good mothers to our daughters, to say, you don't have to sit on the sidelines. You too can just decide to run just like a man can.
And think of all the things that have changed in the course of 95 years in the time that we as women have had the right to vote. I think it's just a good reminder that we need to persevere, regardless of what the issue is. And what we stand for, we need to believe that perseverance will pay off. And for the next generation and the generations following, it's our goal and it's our role to make sure that we set the tone, we show the work ethic that's required so that they can follow and grow and really be the ones that will keep this state and this country going forward.